Welcome to our outdoor workshop. Eric and I are not throwing in the towel just yet. We're not calling it quits on building season. We have a lot that we're going to try to accomplish in the next month. It's mid-October. We've got some snow on the ground, but the temperatures are not that cold, and I'm pretty enthusiastic about some of the things that we're doing.
But it is a little bit cold, so we have the sawmill behind us. It's covered with the tarp, so that's pretty much ready to go. We'll get the snow off the pad and we'll be able to cut. We're going to do a few little things to the sawmill. One's a modification, one is just based on cold weather. And basically what we're going to be doing over the next couple days is cutting a ton of 2x6s. When we build the end walls for our Quonset Hut shop in the spring, we're going to need a lot of lumber. But first, I'm going to do a couple quick modifications to the tractor and then we'll get started working on the sawmill.
It should be fun cutting that wood. We have a lot to do. Probably the most we've ever done with the sawmill for one project. The end walls, I think we kind of have an idea of how we want to build them, even though we didn't get to it this year. So hopefully they get up next year.
Let's get going.
Okay.
Okay, I've been waiting to do this modification for a little while. So with this tractor, it's semi-new to us. We've only had it for about 6 or 7 months. I don't really have anywhere good to hook like a chain or a strap or anything like that. So I've just been tying it like on the forks and tying it around the bucket, but we're gonna take care of that today. I've got these really cool hooks, and these are just like heavy duty steel hooks. So we're gonna put some on the bucket. We'll probably put them somewhere like probably right there and right there. And then we're also gonna put some on the forks. And I was looking at the forks and I believe I'm gonna go right there. We're gonna be welding these on, and I have a new welder I wanted to show you guys. It's a pretty cool little machine. Usually when we weld, I have a little flux core. I guess it's like a MIG welder. It's a wire feed welder, and this is a different welder. This is called an arc welder or a stick welder. It uses these little sticks to weld. That one's been used, but this is a new one right here, so I can show what those look like. You've got this long rod, and they have different ones. You can use thinner ones for thinner metal, and then they have real thick ones you can use for really heavy steel. But the cool part about this welder is, look at this thing. It is so tiny, and it just runs off a regular plug. An arc welder or a stick welder like this is what I learned to weld on. My grandpa used to have a big, huge trailer, gas-powered one. So these things have come a long way, and I think one of the coolest things about this is the size and the lightweight of it. You could go out like to a remote location. You could bring this, your generator, a welding mask, and you could do repairs or modifications, whatever you need to do. It has been useful for me around here. Usually with stick welding like this or arc welding, you can weld a lot thicker of metals. I've only used this thing a couple of times. Let's get it fired up on the generator and let's see if we can get some of those hooks welded on. That was awesome. This little welder did an excellent job, and I wanted to mention one other thing. Not only is it a little welder, it has a little price tag. I paid under $100 for this thing, so I've used it quite a few times. It has no problem with that heavy steel on the bucket and those hooks. Next up is a much needed modification to the sawmill.
Look at the beauty under here. All right. You're gonna put her to work.
We'll see how long we last.
Wow, you need assistance with this?
We've been owners of this sawmill for about 3 years. We absolutely love this thing. At our old place, when we were cutting lumber out of trees, they were all beetle kill trees, so they were dead. They were a lot lighter than a green tree. Up here, it's completely different. We got some big trees, and man, they are heavy. So when you're cutting a piece of wood or you're cutting a log into lumber, you have a small end of the log and you have a big end of the log, so it tapers. You need to compensate for that when you're cutting. Before, what we would do with those dead logs, I'd lift it up with one hand and I'd slide like a 2x4 into there, and it's good to go. These new logs are so heavy, it takes like 2 people. So one person has to lift it, one person has to shim underneath it. They sell something for this sawmill, This is a Norwood, and I think it's called a toe board kit, and it's basically what I'm going to build today, but we're going to build it for a lot cheaper, and hopefully it works out. Theirs is very similar. It uses a bottle jack, and it has some rollers on top. We're not going to have any rollers on top, but I got the bottle jack. This thing only costs about 20 bucks. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some sort of bracket here, and we're going to bolt it there. I'm going to put a piece of pipe across the top. When our log sits on here, we'll be able to measure, I guess, let's say that side's 11 inches and this side is 9 inches diameter. So we're going to want to go up 1 inch. We'll be able to come in here with a little bottle jack, and we'll jack it up to where it needs to go. So let's get started on a couple brackets for this thing and see if we can get it to work. That's pretty good. Modification complete. It doesn't look exactly like if you would buy it from Norwood, but I think it's gonna do the trick for us. So this is what is it, a 2-ton? Yeah, it's a 2-ton bottle jack, so it'll lift 4,000 pounds. We're only lifting a few hundred pounds. We're gonna lift one end of a log, and to use it, it's like a regular bottle jack. You got the open and close, so if you wanna pump it up, you gotta close that valve, and then we'll put our log here, and we'll pump it up however high we need it. It's usually only like about like that, like an inch or two, and then once you're done with it and you want it out of the way, you'll loosen this. The weight of the log will be on here, and it'll push it down. And it'll get out of the way. We want to make sure that when below the log rest right here, which it does, the only thing left to do is grab a log and put it on here, and we'll see if it works. Okay, that's good. We just want a little. Well, would you look at that? It works. It works pretty good, honestly. I'm surprised. Kind of good and bad. This log is a very bad example of what we're trying to do here, because that end and that end are almost identical. It's like a cylinder. It's not tapered very much, but that's basically what we would do if it was tapered. We'd get this end up a little bit, we'd flip it, we'd do that again, but it works. So let's lower it down and see what happens. This is a pretty heavy log here. So you'd lower it down when you're done. Let's get the old sawmill fired up and let's cut some 2x6s. Nice, beautiful wood. Look at that. She's cutting good. So today we're cutting, or always, we're cutting a white spruce, and we're going for 2x6s that are about 9 feet long right now. We need a lot of them, like over 70 of them. And it depends on how big of a diameter your log is. That'll tell you how many you're going to get. Out of this one, I don't know how many I'll get. 6? 2, 3, 6 would be really nice. We'll see if we can get that. We're going to use this little tool here. Since these logs are pretty heavy, we're going to roll it upside down now. We'll cut the bottom end off. That's the height of the sawmill. We're getting back in the groove again. It took a couple cuts to get going here. So we ended up with 1, 2, 3, 5 2x6s out of that piece of wood. And these are true 2x6s, so 2" by 6". We've got our little station set up. That's where our slab wood is gonna go. That's kind of like the cutoff pieces with the bark on it, the rounded ends. We're gonna be putting our lumber on here. We'll drive it over to here on just a couple logs, and this is where we'll be setting it for now. Eventually it's gonna go into the Quonset hut, and that's where we're gonna store it and let it dry up for us. And then we will grab a new log, put it on the sawmill. We got a lot of cutting to do. Look at these nicest wood ever. Look at that. So that's 12 inches right there.
Yeah, you won't get 6 out of them.
And this is
5's pretty good.
11 inches. So we could use our thing a little bit. Arielle brought over a nice log for us, and this one is a little tapered. So I'm going to show you how I do it. This is the big end of the log, and I take it and I measure it. So it's a little under 11 inches on this side. So let's go measure the small end. We're at 10 inches. There's a 1 inch difference, and you want that to be like in the whole diameter. Since we're an inch apart, we only want to raise this up a 1/2 inch. And I just eyeball it. I'm not going to use a tape measure or anything like that. So let's tighten up our jack. That looks like a 1/2 inch, right?
Yeah.
That's a 1/2 inch right there. We're gonna make sure we're against our log dog, so we'll push it over there. This one looks a little high. I don't want to hit it with the blade, so I'm gonna drop this one down a little. Right about there. That looks pretty good. Let's tighten her up. Okay, now we're gonna make this top cut. We're gonna cut that piece of slab wood off. We'll put that aside. We're gonna drop the jack down, and then we'll have to use it one more time when we have the log on its side. So what we've done here on this log is we've created a flat surface now, and that's important because we're gonna flip it completely upside down, and we're gonna put it on the little rest right here. Let's drop our jack down. We don't need this up right now. So now we have the flat surface down, so now our top cut is gonna match that bottom piece. So we'll be perfectly flat, and this is where what you're gonna cut comes into mind. So we're going for 2x6s. Ideally with this size of logs, I'm aiming for like a 6 inch by 8 inch beam, and then I'll cut my 2x6s out of it. This is getting a little smaller. Let's see what we can get. So we've got 6 inches on the bottom right there, and we need 6 inches on the top, so we can get, we're only gonna get a 6x6 out of this. As the logs get smaller, you get less and less lumber out of them. It looks like we're gonna get, to start with, a 6x6 beam, and then we'll cut into it, and we'll end up with 3 of the 2x6s. We're getting a lot of the slab wood, which is okay. That's gonna make great firewood for us. So let's set our gauge here at 6 inches. And what you can do to check it is you can put your blade up against your log, take your tape measure, and make sure you're actually at 6 inches. So you can see right at the 6-inch mark there. Choke on it. Gas, maybe? Okay, we're getting there. We're gonna use our little bottle jack one more time, and that is because we have this edge and this edge, which are just the round edges of the logs, and we wanna get one perfectly flat, so we're gonna do the same thing. We had that taper on this small end. We're gonna flip it up on end, and we'll raise our bottle jack that 1/2 inch, and we'll get a straighter cut through the log. One of the most important things when you're using a sawmill is you don't want to run that blade into anything but the wood. So that's metal, like this clamp right here, or the log dogs on the other side that we just took out. What we're gonna be doing now is we're gonna start cutting this into our pieces of lumber, and we're gonna get real close to the bottom. So instead of just clamping this clamp right here in the center to hold our piece of wood steady, there's actually a little groove here on the bottom, and you can put it way down low, and you can cut like under a 1-inch piece of lumber with that. So get your handle, make sure that's all low. Let's see how many we're gonna get out of here. I can measure right now. We are at almost 8 inches. So we're gonna have one slab piece off the top, and then we'll get 3 really nice 2x6s. Not too bad, and something I thought was pretty interesting with this stack of wood is these 2x6s, they all came from one tree, and we started with the thick end, and as we got up to the thin end, this is what we got. So the thick end, we got 5 2x6s, and the center section was a little smaller, we got 4, and then the top of the tree, the smallest section, we got 3. So we're off to a pretty good start here. This is some good looking wood. Just under 9 feet.
Remind me, didn't this log have already a section taken off of it?
Yeah, we started with
So this was not just one 40-footer, this is like a 30.
we only got 3 sections out. The rest of those are at least 40 feet. We get 4 sections.
That's what I was thinking.
So we get a
you
lot per tree.
What do you want to aim for tonight? Back spin! We should use a beefy one like this, hon. You could get you could double up in there.
Slight snag here. Over time, your sawmill can become kind of unlevel, and what we're dealing with right now is the blade is supposed to sit perfectly flat against the rails of the sawmill, and for some reason ours is just a hair tilted like that. I'm over exaggerating, but it's a little bit like that, like an 1/8 of an inch. But we're gonna adjust our blade and get it exactly flat. The way you measure it is pretty simple. So the blade has teeth that go slightly up and then some that go slightly down, and they alternate. And you want to measure the tip of one of the teeth that is facing down to the top of this little cross brace, right? And you want to do it on one end and you want to do it on another end. So I measured it on this one and on this one, 6 1/8 on that side, and then this side is perfectly at a little under 6 inches. So we're about 1/8 of an inch off. So you can either put that side down a little or you can put this side up. I've got more adjustment on this side, so I'm gonna adjust this side up just a tiny bit. See this bolt right here? If you tighten it, let's see, if we tighten it, yeah, it's gonna pull that side up. So let's tighten this a little. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so we're like right there at 6 inches to the top of that tooth. Perfect. Okay, adjustment done. Let's give her another cut and see what she does.
Day 2 of working out here on the sawmill. We got quite a bit of work done the other day. Into the evening we were cutting these logs. Eric was cutting them, and then we were kind of like putting them aside and getting them ready for sawmill action. And we have more to do this morning. We have like 100 pieces of lumber we need to cut, so I imagine it's going to take a while. This was a load that we had dropped off by a semi truck back in the spring months. We knew that we were going to be doing some projects and we wanted some bigger diameter logs. So these are awesome. They're white spruce and they are like at minimum 40 feet. Some of them are longer than that. We paid about $240 a cord for them. Up here, it is about $300 a cord for spruce, so it's not necessarily a great deal, but that's what the going rate is, and I think it actually goes up quite a bit if you're able to get your hands on some birch. All in all, we didn't get a bad price on these, and they're perfect for what we're using them for. Got a lot of work to do, so we are gonna get to work.
Got some nice looking logs lined up for us this morning. I'm gonna cut a few more for our 2x6 by 8 footers. I'm cutting those at 9 feet, and then we're gonna switch over to some longer ones. I'm gonna cut those at 13 feet, and then when we use them, those will be 12 foot 2x6s.
I know about it all the time.
Alrighty, so the other day when we were out here using the sawmill, we were going with our typical lube that we use, which is just a mix of water with a little bit of dish soap in there, and that lubricates the blade as it's cutting through your wood. It was about 40 degrees and it started dipping down a little bit lower, and as we were cutting, I noticed that some of the water and the soap mixture was sticking to the sawdust that was coming off the bandsaw, and it was going on the track and it was freezing, and it was getting kind of hard to push the sawmill. So we're going to switch things up a little bit today. You can see there's a little icicle that just came off of where I had the water in there. I already drained it out, and we are going to try something that we've never done. We usually don't sawmill in the cold weather, but we're going to use windshield washer fluid. So this is pretty good stuff. This is -30. I guess you could probably mix this like with some water and this, but I'm just going to put this in straight and we'll see what it does. Just put the whole thing in for now. And down here you can see is the stuff that I drained out of it, so almost completely frozen. Let's make sure that we can get this to run through. Dang it, it's frozen in there. Okay, so let's reconnect it all. Sounds a lot better.
So we got 24.
Well, what a morning it has been. Look at this nice stack of wood we got here. This is like over 50. I'm sure of that. So it's probably so 57 2x6s that are 8 feet long. This is awesome. The sawmill's cutting good. Yesterday I was noticing when I'd go to start it, I'd have to choke it every time. But then when it ran out of gas and I put new gas in it, it's been running awesome. So I'm guessing the gas was just a little old from sitting there. But check out this log we're gonna put on there next. This is the, not waste, but this is the slab wood we've been ending up with. We've got it on a nice stack so we can grab it with the tractor and cut that into firewood. So we have quite a bit of that. And on average, we've been getting, on like a smaller diameter log, about that big, we've been getting like 5 2x6s. And as you go bigger, you get a lot more. But this is the big bad boy we're gonna throw on here next. A little over 16 inches, and it's probably about 15 inches on that side. And that's a pretty big log for up here. Arielle has mapped it out and she thinks we can cut 9 2x6s out of this big one. So let's see what we get. Let's get her loaded up.
I did look at the small end. I looked at both. I actually mapped it out 2 different ways. I mapped it out 2 different ways because we usually never do 2 6s horizontal.
Yeah.
But either way, even if you push that, which I don't think is possible, you're looking at 8 to 9.
You're gonna get a 10 by 10 beam.
13.5 inches.
13.5 inches on this side. I mentioned that one was 16, so we are gonna have to jack this one up a little bit. I'm probably gonna do about an inch on this side. This is a good test for the little jack because this is a heavy log. All right, let's see what we can do here. I think we can at least do 8. Inches by 10 inches. So at this point, that is what we're left with. And we did our calculations. We're gonna basically cut it down until we get a 10-inch by 6-inch beam. And then we can flip it up on end and we can start getting our 2x6s. And as we start cutting it down, we'll end up with 1, 2, 7. So we'll end up with 7 2x6s and 2 2x4s. So not too bad. We probably could have gotten 1 or 2 more if I was a little more careful with those first cuts, but let's get this thing cut. I want to get it to 10 inches this way and 6 inches this way, so then we can flip it up on end. So I need to take out 4 inches, so that gets to here. So then we'll be left with, if you can imagine this piece gone, we'll be left with this piece. And that'll be 6 inches by 10 inches. And then we can flip it up long ways. So I'm going to cut a 2-inch piece, a 2-inch piece. So these will be 2-inch by 10-inch, and then we'll flip them on their edge. And we'll cut them. We'll get a 2x6 and a 2x4. See? All right, there you have it. So we've got 2x6s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we've got 2 really nice 2x4s. And again, we're cutting this all at actual size. So this 2x4, a little bigger than you get at the hardware store. So we're at 2 inches by 4 inches. And man, look at that. We're like right there. So not bad. And then if you can look right here, this is the slab wood we got off that big log. I made one cut on one of these. It was a little thicker than I wanted. I think this bottom one. So, oh no, it's this one right here. So this is, shoot, that's 4 inches right there. So I bet we could have gotten those 2x4s to turn into 2x6s, but it happens sometimes. Let's get this offloaded into the pile. It's growing.
quotes at 78 pieces. They're all 2 by 6 by 8, or they're technically 2 by 6 by 9 right now. And then we got a few 2 by 4s out of the deal as well, which is neat. We've got to change the blade on the sawmill, and we're gonna kind of like postpone the rest of the wood that we wanted to cut for now. But I'm pretty excited what we got cut.
What an awesome couple days of cutting lumber. The sawmill, how we have it set up now on a solid foundation, which is our concrete slab, is just working amazing for us. At our old place, the ground wasn't too solid there, so I felt like I was always making adjustments and it never quite cut absolutely perfect. The way we have it set up now, it's cutting the best it's ever cut. It's awesome. And then we also put it up on the 8 by 8 beams, so it sits up a little higher. It's a lot more comfortable to operate. She's running good. She's smoking this wood off. So we're gonna get these stacks brought over to the Quonset hut. We're gonna bring it over in 2 piles and we're gonna get stacked over there. All right, so I grab one. Yeah, that squirrel's over here somewhere, and I chased him under the stove.
Did you have it taking a nap or something?
Okay, now grab 3.
3?